In mid-January, around the 16th of January, I think it was, there was a terrorist attack in Kenya at a hotel called the Dusit. It's a hotel complex, so it houses a hotel, restaurants, and some offices. And these offices are mainly financial tech companies, young companies that host their offices there. And there was a 19-hour standoff between the terrorists and law enforcement, special forces, SWAT, that kind of thing. A suicide bomber blew himself up at the restaurant outside, killing a number of people. And then gunmen rushed into the hotel and began to shoot. And they went room to room, trying to clear people out, trying to kill as many people as they could. And the terrorist group Al-Shabaab took responsibility for the attack as the attack continued. And in total, about I want to say 19 people died, and several more are injured. But all the terrorists who took part were killed.
The attacks that have been happening in Kenya is because of the AMISOM group and the mission that has been happening in Somalia, where Kenya is part of the AMISOM army, keeping peace in Somalia, helping get rid of the Al-Shabaab and the military and the laws that they're implementing there. So, like, they are retaliating by taking attacks into the mainland in Kenya. I think that there is a lot of double standards, especially when it comes to the international media, because when you look at it, like, for instance, there was a coverage that was done by the New York Times, and over there they basically took photos of dead bodies and then they publicized them on their pages on their internet, and some people did not even know, because it was still during that time when the government and the army was trying to take a hold of the situation. So some people did not even know where their loved ones were, and then they just see on the news that here's the body of my loved one. So it was so depressing. And when challenged, they say that they do that for all the news, but when you look at scenarios like when France is attacked or when the US is attacked, they'll only take photos of wakes and post them there and show the courage and the bravery of the US people or of the French people. And it's not like in Kenya there were no wakes that were taking place, but they chose not to take the photos of the bravery and the courage of the Kenyans at that time, but to take photos of the armed people, of the dead bodies, and put them there, which poses the question: this was a terrorist attack. If it's a terrorist attack, why would you take photos of dead bodies to show the terrorists that they're succeeding? So it was just totally mixed up, and it was so awful. And even the fact that they refused to get rid of the photos, even when questioned, it was just a lot of questioning going on. It was awful.
No, I think I've written a bit about what I think regarding that subject. I think there's what I like to call it's a rough word, but suffering pornography, really, where there's a fetishization of African suffering. So you're more likely to see images of dead victims of attacks in the southern hemisphere. So in South America, in Africa, you're more likely to see images of dead victims. For example, the New York Times, during the attack, because I did say it was a 19-hour standoff, around the 4th or 5th hour of the attack, the New York Times published close-up images of dead victims of the terrorist attack. People that had been, you could see their laptops, and they were open, working at a restaurant, and you could see their bodies slumped over their laptops and bullet holes throughout their bodies. And they were called out on it. We wrote emails to the New York Times, and the response we were given was that this is standard policy for the New York Times, that they always show these images, and they're trying to keep a fidelity to the reality of what happened. But if you look at it closely, very rarely are these images ever shown, especially during terrorist attacks that happen in Europe and North America. So there's a bit of falsehood by the New York Times and other Western foreign correspondents, and so there's been a huge push in Kenya to act against these kinds of media representation, because it's unfair.